Well, today I'd like to welcome Gil Hedley, and this is going to be an interview with Gil for the Conscious Health Institute. Gil is a self-described somanaut. Gil and I have known each other for quite a while. When I knew Gil, he was finishing up his PhD in theology with a specialization in ethics. Gil is also a structural integration therapist, or at least he used to practice it, also known as Rolfing. And Gil, tell us, what's a somanaut?
A somanaut is a word that I invented to describe Emily Conrad Daoud, actually, in Santa Monica, who I had done an interview with. And I was trying to explain what being I was meeting there. And the word soma is from the Greek. It means the body, richly understood, as opposed to, say, sarx, which means the flesh in Greek, right? But soma, the body, richly understood. And then naut, like nautical, or to navigate, like an astronaut navigates outer space. The somanaut navigates the inner world of the body. And so I thought that was a perfect description of her artistry in movement as a healer and an explorer of the body. And then not long after using that description for her, I found, well, it applies generally. I think I'm a somanaut too. And so I took up the project of somanautics, the research of inner exploration. And I've been doing that for many years now. And I've learned a lot. It's an enjoyable endeavor.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, how did you go from theology and ethics to the inner exploration of the body?
Well, as I was in my practice of studying at the University of Chicago, it was really a very disembodied experience, a very intellectual process, and the very active studying drew me up and out. And yet I wanted to kind of come in and needed a way to connect to myself somehow, to focus myself in the body. And so I took up Tai Chi during my study at the University of Chicago. And that turned out to be a wonderful way to kind of ground me and bring me into my body. And as I practiced Tai Chi, I learned acupuncture and how to touch people, how to be touched, how to receive touch. Found that to be an extremely powerful thing in itself. Folks responded to my touch, and it made me think, oh, maybe there's something to that. And I began to explore the world of healing through massage and the study of structural integration that you mentioned at the Rolfer Institute. So I did train as a Rolfer ultimately. And I admired Ida Rolf very much. She had a PhD in the science fields and biochemistry. And I thought, okay, she's an intellectual person, and yet she's a healer at the same time. And I kind of liked that combination. I was attracted to that combination of education and healing. A teacher and a healer, that combination seemed like a powerful combination to me, and I was attracted to that. And so I trained as a Rolfer even while I was completing my degree, and came out a PhD Rolfer at the same time.
Okay. So did you work as a body worker as well?
I did. When I left the University of Chicago, I didn't go into academics. I went straight to bodywork practice. And I practiced Rolfing for 3 or 4 years while I thought about what I want to be when I grow up. So I found myself as a Rolfer really craving to know more about anatomy, because I felt I'm noodling around in people's bodies rather deeply, and it would be important for me to have a deeper understanding of anatomy. So I started self-studying anatomy and quickly found my niche as an anatomy teacher from an integral perspective.
Okay. So you were working with people's bodies. Did you give up your interest in ethics, theology, and...
It's still my driving force, but not from an academic perspective, more as a point of personal spiritual development.
That's something spiritual and
Yeah,
personal
which
for you.
University of Chicago is not a spiritual endeavor in any way, and they'd be happy to hear me saying that, I think. It was an intellectual program, academics, and very a bit dry and rigid. And for me, the exploration of the body has been one of expansion and flexibility and relaxation into myself.
So tell me, Gil, what do you think attracted you to this deep interest in the body that you have?
I think I had an initial recognition when I was at university that I was so disconnected from it that I was a fraud, and that to speak about the moral life as an intellectual and not actually have an experience of my body, which I was given orders to, from a moral standpoint, didn't make any sense at all. I felt that to be a good ethicist, to be a good person, I had to connect to my body rather than be so alienated from it. So it was an intentional drive in myself to explore the body in every way that I could think of. Get married and have kids, that's a body exploration if ever there were one. Practice a bodywork modality. That's a way of engaging the body. Have my own movement practice in, say, the Tai Chi, and then my own explorations, and then also the dissection. So bringing to my exploration to the laboratory and seeing really, well, what is a body? What does it look like in there? You know, can I achieve mastery and consciousness and connection throughout this whole form? And wouldn't that be a neat way to do so, you know, to just check it out and allow the wisdom of the body to speak to ethics rather than ethics giving orders to the body.
So you use the word fraud, which kind of surprised me, and you said that you felt you were a fraud. Hold on.
Gently, in my mind.
Why would you say fraud? And isn't ethics a question of morality and spirit, and not a question of the body? But speak to, why did you call yourself a fraud?
Yeah, in the sense that to pontificate about the life of the body without having any knowledge of it struck me as disingenuous. And so I felt like I could have I wanted to have a more authentic voice as an ethicist by having some experience to speak from with the body. And I've also found and am determined to give the body a voice, to allow its intelligence to speak to me rather than just my rational mind speaking to it. So I want to listen to the body. I want to hear what it has to say rather than working from a metaphor, say, that puts the body in a low subordinate place to the intellect as if it doesn't have some equal voice.